Welcome to Outside the Box with Ascendia USA, a podcast educating U.S.-based e-tailers on international shipping topics and how they can expand their global e-commerce footprint.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the Outside the Box podcast with Ascendia USA. Alongside my co-host, Nick Agnetti, I'm John Walsh. Got a couple of topics we'd like to talk to you about today. Nick, is that okay with you? You ready?
Works for me.
You ready to go?
Here, let's do it.
All right. So we had talked about on previous podcasts, we talked about our services into the three big lanes, Australia, Canada, UK. Mm-hmm. You also got into a little bit about services like DDU versus DDP, and when they work, when maybe you should one versus the other. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that today, if that's okay with you.
Sounds great.
Okay. So let's talk about, do you want to talk about DDU first or DDP?
Yeah. So in the first episode, kind of throwing these terms around, right? DDU, DDP. So delivered duty unpaid, delivered duty paid. Those are, breaking the terms down. That's what they mean. And what it means, it's really how any associated or levied taxes or duties on a shipment or transaction are going to be managed in terms of who's paying the taxes and duties, right? So delivered duties unpaid, which is DDU, is going to be handled by the recipient. Meaning, if you live in Canada, you buy something from a U.S. seller and they ship it to you via USPS postal method, it's going to be delivered. That's a DDU delivery method. If you are assessed, or if that particular package is assessed taxes or duties, depending on the value, you are the one responsible for paying those before you get to actually take ownership or take that package.
If I was comparing that to like an integrated carrier, like a UPS, a DHL, or FedEx, they don't offer all the services that we offer, correct?
That's correct.
They pretty much play in the duty paid world, right?
No, they play in both.
But predominantly when they sell express services, they
express, yes.
Yeah, so that's their moneymaker.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about the average retailer, when you have a little bit more options, obviously price, value, things like that are important to the customers. Mm-hmm. Say somebody like the UK as an example for a market.
Yeah.
We have a great postal option. We have great integrated carrier option. So how do you steer your customers to what?
Yeah. So UK. Okay. So
as an example.
No, it's a great example because it's a horse of different color when it comes down to, you look at Canada and you've got a lot going on there and we could talk all day. We've already talked a lot. We're going to keep talking a lot. So saddle in for that one. But UK.
That's two horse references in one section.
Yeah. I don't know what to say.
Color and you use the word saddle, but go on.
Saddle up, partner.
Here we go. Okay. Oh, that was the third one. Okay, we're good.
Okay, so there's no official there is no DDU or DDP, right? Unless you get to really higher values for shipments going to the UK. Right. There's no de minimis. Which,
starts at zero, right?
If you are a loyal listener, you would already know that by now. No, I'm just kidding.
Starts at zero.
Starts at zero.
Yeah, it's good.
So, but yes, going back to the services we offer versus, let's say, a dedicated courier or something like that, we offer a whole mix, right? You mentioned, there's postal, there's Royal Mail, there's, and what it comes down to is the ability for us to offer multiple final mile vendors for deliveries in, you talked about the UK, but this is worldwide. We can do different things.
Right. There's a couple things I wrote down. I just want your opinion on. So in the shopping cart experience, if you're offering, I guess the question would be, if you're offering more DDU than DDP, do you think customers leave a shopping cart? Do you think that's important to them?
100%. And I think on subsequent episodes, we can do a good job of bringing some hard statistics related to that for everybody to dig into.
But wait a minute, you don't have statistics for this?
You know what?
Because usually you're like right on it.
Okay.
But no, I'm just teasing.
No, so what I mean by that is that, that's a great idea for another topic of conversation. And I appreciate you being the think tank behind that, John. So here we go. So what were we even talking about?
Cart abandonment.
Yeah, cart abandonment. So yes, if you don't have what they call a landed cost, so think of it for everybody listening. If you're a U.S. citizen and you go to buy something online that from another U.S. seller, you would expect to see, for the most part, what your goods cost, state sales tax, shipping, final cost. As another human being in another country, you would hope to see the same thing and not be hit with a courier or a customs office knocking, emailing, saying, hey, if you want to get this product that you so dearly wanted and ordered, you got to pay us additional funds in order to do that. Because the company that you bought this product from,
right,
they didn't do anything about it.
Great explanation. I just bringing it up more because when I was at my former company, UPS, the customers had a lot of sticker shock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was more of a case of, oh my Lord, how much is this going to really cost me? The package is valued at $40. It's cost me $80 to get it there.
Oh, well.
Do I really need it in 2 days? So like their options were limited in that, they have some other options today, but I think at Ascendi here, we just have more breadth of options that fit your budget, what you're looking for your customer's experience, right? That's just from where I sit. It was just amazing to me when I came over here to Ascendia that there was a lot more options that were more affordable, and it was more in the customer's interest that we were educating them and give them options, right?
100%. And you bring up your background being, previous life with UPS. Long time ago, mine came from FedEx. And so what I think I can relate that to is going back to customer experience. Think about the brokerage fees that on a ground shipment going into Canada that are assessed are tremendous from courier delivery options. And this isn't our point here isn't to sit here and tout, and pitch our services, but we are going to give you, we're going to have a very transparent talk about, things that, are there areas of improvements and different solutions. And one of them is our Canada Direct Access or our Canadian Delivery Network.
That is you know what? That's a very, very good point, because with our brokerage, it's all included.
Yes.
UPS has got line items,
maybe
the big three,
7,
traditionally
8, 9 line items per ship, something like that.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point.
I think though, just if I can, this talk, titled, which we DDU versus DDP, right? And so if you are an online seller, right, and you're looking, hey, you clicked on this episode because you're thinking, hey, I might be even entertaining the thought of,
you actually might learn something.
You might. So far you haven't, but you might. Yeah, so far
we'll get there.
We're gonna get there, but. What does it come down to? When I think of it, and I'll ask your opinion of this too, is, I've got a choice phrase that's been resounding for months and months, and I talked about it in a previous episode, is customer experience.
Correct.
But
I have that written down right here.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. You got it down. So when you look at DDU versus DDP, or think about it in terms of a customer's perspective, putting yourself in their shoes, what comes to mind for you?
I would like to know what the actual cost is.
Okay. So a landed cost.
And the next thing I want to know is what's the range of transits that I'm going to get it for whatever I paid. Mm-hmm. And is my website that I'm going on easy to maneuver in? Mm-hmm. Because that seems to be one of the things that we see on a lot of surveys. Customers have a hard time navigating through websites on what the actual cost is. They don't know. Then they get their shopping cart, they leave because it's too much money.
Yeah,
that's what I hear.
I'm with you 100%. So transparency. Yeah. I think it's also important that we have to bring up, because we are experts in this space.
Right.
You have to bring up the profile of what you're sending.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, what are the contents? What is the size? And size that we'll talk about in terms of gravity weight versus dimensional weight. But then we also have to talk about some compliance and legality of it, meaning you cannot ship DDP into the EU without being IOSS registered. And we will be covering that in greater detail in probably some subsequent episodes. But IOSS stands for Import One Stop Shop. That is something that you have to, you need to work with an expert, a tax intermediary, to become registered, to be able to do DDP shipping options or utilize them within Europe, in the EU member states, if you will. So this is not including the UK. You can ship DDU logistics options into the UK every day. All day. That there's nothing holding you back there, but specifically EU, you're looking at IOSS. So going back to profile though, it's really important to think about, what is it that you're sending in terms of what's the average order value? What is the size of the package? I've got a particular client that is in I'd consider it more the hobbies and toy space, and
some big boxes.
Huge boxes, right? Huge boxes, right? And they're a wonderful customer, longtime customer, very thankful for them. But what and I've always looked at how much I would love to transition and work on, improving that experience by moving to more DDP lanes. But the rough stark reality is anything you go DDP in, you're going to get dimensionalized. If you're looking at, 20 by 18 by 18 boxes and you have a 3-pound package, you're looking at probably a 10-pound package cost. Now we're talking about pricing. Right. You get priced by the pound, right? So that's something really important to take into consideration when you're looking at what you're sending. If you're sending high-end apparel and your average order value is over 100 US, probably makes a lot of sense to look at a DDP distribution option.
Yeah, so I'd written that down. What makes DDU make sense, and obviously the dim weight is a big factor. I am seeing, and I think you can back me up, you're seeing a lot more customers want to move to more of the DDP route, right? Mm-hmm. What the reason I mentioned earlier, you think that's why? Or is there something I'm missing?
No, it's about, I think primarily, I'm confident it's primarily surrounding the customer experience at the time of delivery. Gotcha. There's full transparency in what the taxes are, any assessed, duties, and there's plenty of programs and
no
different
surprises when you get the
and people will say, how do I do this? Well, there are so many integration options and programs that you can utilize to help with duty and tax collection at the time of checkout, no matter the back end system that you're using, and so I think so in addition to the transparency factor, it's the fact that I'm going to say all of our DDP delivery options, I'd say for the most part, transit times are phenomenal, and they're better and they're more aggressive than the DDU delivery options. The clearance seems to not be an issue because that's primarily surrounding more of the data received. But what we find is with our the DPD product, holy cow!
About that for a second.
That thing is cooking, right? And then you've got the stuff we've got into the UK. We're looking at 4 to 5 business days for delivery. The Canada Direct Access, the fully optimized direct access network, and I know here he is talking about Ascendia, but I do work for Ascendia, right? So the reality is, what I'm trying to tell you, though, if you're a listener, is that if you're shipping DDU right now and you're thinking about going to DDP, it warrants a good conversation to understand the entire picture. What are you sending? How frequently? Where are you sending it to? What's the profile, right? The average order value. These are all very important things to understand whether you should go from DDU to DDP. Right. Destination country is also very important, too.
I have 2 specific topics I'm going to touch on with you.
Okay.
First one regarding Canada. Not that we don't talk about Canada all the time. Yeah. Are we talking about Canada enough?
It's just about as much as we say Latin stuff. So,
Okay, that's fine. That's probably true.
Okay.
So one of the things that we've noticed with Canada DD Direct Access product that we have is that we are getting about 25% of our deliveries are on the weekends. If you go a postal product, you're not going to get that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't think about that enough, but yeah, that's correct.
That's what I'm here for, to remind you of this stuff.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
But again, because it's a private carrier network for the most part, we have various carriers use it for final mile, but it's
proprietary though. It is. It's proprietary.
And we're trying to, I'm talking to Dave, and Dave, who manages the product, said that their goal is to improve that.
Will know.
Yep, that's true. And that's on Canada. You just brought up DPD, which is one of the companies that's under the umbrella of the company that the La Poste and the Swiss Post. DPD, I think it's the second largest integrated ground carrier in Europe. So I think DHL is number 1. Yeah. I think UPS is like 3 or 4. And I know you have a large customer because I see them that they'll ship a lot, and it's going to 25 of the 29 countries we go to DPD out of the U.S. But that's a brand name over there. Oh. So it's a great, you don't get access to that with another carrier.
In the first episode, did I tell you the story about this customer went on vacation in France, went to the post office and saw DPD stuff everywhere, and he's like, holy cow, they really are big.
They are big.
No, they are everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah. The thing about that is the way they're, in that particular, it's what the average customer, let's put it this way. The average profile of your customer, would you say that's 35% is EU? Easily, right?
Yeah.
So because of their Predict service and it's, their delivery, I say it's a program that matches UPS, DHL's, FedEx's ability for the customer to own the delivery experience. It's a very good experience.
So, okay, let's talk about this. So, again, when I think of why DDU versus DDP, we're going to talk about customer experience, okay? And so DPD offers the Predict option, and they also have a phenomenal app that you have to be located in the EU to download it.
Correct.
But it allows you to customize your actual delivery in the air, the package in the air. You can say, hey, I want it at a pickup locker. Hey, I want it at a pharmacy. Hey, I want the courier to take it to my girlfriend's house, give it to my neighbor, give it to my father, give it to this address. But you can do it real time within this app. And it is, just being in the space for 15 years,
it's kind of a difference maker, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
So it's funny you mentioned that. I was looking at some of my notes that I wrote because I know you're the big stat guy. I had a couple stats. They weren't, Ironically, the number one that customers in the EU like about Predict is seeing within an hour when their package is going to be delivered. Within an hour.
Everybody loves that.
The second was the ability to reschedule the delivery, to your point about going to an alternative. But the third is the pickup at a PUDA, which in their terminology is pickup drop-off, right?
Location, yeah.
They have over 50-some thousand drop-off locations in Europe. So it's very robust. It's number one. I think DHL is behind it, UPS is behind us, but they're number one. It's fantastic. And they've been expanding it dramatically in various countries, especially Germany. I know they added quite a few, and I think the Netherlands. Big in the UK, like you said.
It's a phenomenal service. It's a fantastic option for shippers. And, when we look at, I know we're going to have to wrap it up here soon for you guys that are listening, but the reality is that, the DDU versus DDP conversation is one that we're happy to have, that every shipper, I think, should be having internally. And then also, working with the consultants like ourselves to be able to, trusted partners to understand, is this a good fit? Let's go over the whole thing and see where it makes sense. I hope today that we've been able to bring some, light to the conversation of, especially if, let's say you've been attending some shows, you've been hearing, DDP or seeing it on LinkedIn or wherever you're looking at your news and information. But I hope that this talk has been able to, bring some light to what DDU is versus DDP when it comes to, small parcel, the cross-border, parcel delivery options. And then, like we say at the end of most of these, although we don't have so many yet, but we're going to say it again, is that, if there's other topics that you'd like to see from us, we'd like to hear from you. So please leave a comment, let us know what your thoughts are, what other information you'd like to learn about, and we'd be happy to get it on the schedule and talk about it. John, what else do you want to recap on the DDU DDP thing?
I just had one other, I wanted your opinion on something.
Give it to me.
So you've been in this a long time. Mm-hmm. Before standard was the main option people chose years ago.
Oof, yeah.
And they went to Plus, which is our DDU service. What do you think? Has that been fast? Or are you surprised that more people are moving to DDU now? DDP, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean, is that going faster than you expected, or has the transition been what you thought it would be?
So it's a great question. I'm sure my production team is going to cut me off here momentarily, but the reality is it's kind of, there's been some early adopters, and also it comes with service availability as well.
Okay.
And so it all comes together, but it is a slow burn that's turned into a steady burn of people transitioning from DDU to DDP.
Okay. Last thing, I think we'll be able to talk about our new DDP options to the Middle East, India in the coming months, right? So that's a big deal. So I think that's something that once we get an understanding of what that's going to look like, we'll be reviewing that also with the DDP to Switzerland, right? So we got some other things that are coming down the road. Is that okay? Was I allowed to say that?
I think you can say whatever you want.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks. We'll wrap it up. We're getting a signal from our producer over here that we have to get off the stage. So,
thank you guys very much for being listeners, and we'll talk to you next time. If you want to support our podcast, the number one thing you can do is share it on your social media and tag Ascendia.
That helps us get the word out, and we really appreciate it.
Be sure to subscribe and download our podcast. If you want to learn more about today's topic, email us at ecommerce.usa@ascendia.com and check back frequently for new discussions on e-commerce shipping to Canada and worldwide.